Hello, class. Today, we will explore three exciting math topics: fractions, decimals, and data interpretation. These are all connected to how we represent and understand numbers in our daily lives. Fractions and decimals show us parts of a whole, while data interpretation helps us make sense of information around us. So, let's begin our learning adventure. A fraction shows a part of something that has been divided into equal pieces. When we share a pizza or a chocolate bar, we are using fractions. The top number, called the numerator, tells us how many parts we have, while the bottom number, called the denominator, tells how many equal parts the whole has. In the picture given, the fraction is called 3/8, which means that we have 3 slices left out of 8. In the fraction 3/5, the number 3 is the numerator. It shows how many parts are taken. The number 5 is the denominator. It shows the total number of equal parts. Together, they show that we have 3 parts out of 5. We use fractions every day. If you drink half of your juice, that's 1/2. If you eat 1 slice of a 4-slice cake, that's 1/4. Fractions help us measure, divide, and share fairly. There are 3 main types of fractions. A proper fraction is less than 1 whole because the numerator is smaller. An improper fraction is more than 1 whole because the numerator is bigger. A mixed number combines a whole number and a fraction. When fractions have the same denominators, they're called similar fractions. When they have different denominators, they're dissimilar fractions. We can only add or subtract fractions easily when their denominators are the same. Some fractions represent the same part even if they look different. These are equivalent fractions. For example, 1/2, 2/4, and 3/6 are equal because they cover the same amount of space. Imagine you have a single, whole pizza. If you cut that pizza into 2 equal parts and take 1 piece, you have 1/2. Now, if you take another identical pizza and cut it into 4 equal parts, taking 2 of those pieces will give you the exact same amount of pizza. 1/2 is the same as 2/4. We can verify this one by means of simplifying fractions in order to get the simplest form of it. To find equivalent fractions, multiply or divide both the numerator and denominator by the same number. If we multiply 2/3 by 2, we get 4/6, the same value. To simplify, divide both the numerator and denominator by their greatest common factor. For 4/6, divide both by 2 to get 2/3. This helps make fractions easier to understand. When denominators are the same, just compare the numerators. Since 5 is greater than 3, 5/8 is larger than 3/8. To compare fractions with different denominators, find the least common denominator, LCD. For 2/3 and 3/4, the LCD is 12. Because the multiple of 3 and the multiple of 4 will first meet at 12. So 12 divided by 3 is 4, times 2 is 8. Then 12 divided by 4 is 3, times 3 is 9. 2/3 will now be equal to 8/12 and 3/4 will now be equal to 9/12. Now we can see 9/12 is greater. To order fractions, change them to have the same denominator or the LCD. The LCD is 12. 12 divided by 6 is 2, times 1 is 2. 12 divided by 2 is 6, times 1 is 6. 12 divided by 3 is 4, times 2 is 8. 1/6 is equal to 2/12, 1/2 is equal to 6/12, and 2/3 is equal to 8/12. So, the order from smallest to biggest is 1/6, 1/2, 2/3. When denominators are the same, add the numerators. Here, 1 plus 5 equals 6, so 6/8 are simplified as 3/4. Since 2 is the common factor for both 6 and 8, we divide 2 to both numerator and denominator, resulting to 3/4. Find the LCD first. The LCD of 3 and 6 is 6. 6 divided by 3 is 2, times 1 is 2, so 2/6. Then 6 divided by 6 is 1, times 1 is 1, so 1/6. Since they have both similar denominators, just add the numerator and copy the denominator. 2 plus 1 is equal to 3, so 3/6, then simplifying it. Since they have a common factor of 3, divide both numerator and denominator by 3, the answer will be 1/2. Subtract just like the same steps in adding. Find the LCD, change, then subtract numerators. Remember to simplify your answer. 5/6 minus 1/3. The LCD is 6. 6 divided by 6 is 1, times 5 is 5, so 5/6. Then 6 divided by 3 is 2, times 1 is 2, so 2/6. 5/6 minus 2/6 is equal to 3/6. Since both numerator and denominator has a common factor of 3, we divide it and we get an answer of 1/2. To multiply, multiply numerators together and denominators together. It's like taking a part of another part. 5 times 3 is 15, then 6 times 4 is 24. We get an answer of 15/24. Since they have a common factor of 3, we divide 3 to both numerator and denominator. We get answer of 5/8. To divide, remember, keep, change, flip or reciprocal. Reciprocal means a new fraction created by flipping the original one, where the numerator becomes the denominator and vice versa. Keep the first fraction, change the division to multiplication, and flip the second one. We keep 3/4, change the operation to multiplication. Reciprocal 2/5 and it will become 5/2. 3 times 5 is 15, and 4 times 2 is 8. We have an answer of 15/8. Since the answer is an improper fraction, meaning the numerator is higher than the denominator, we can simply convert it into a mixed fraction. We divide 15 by 8, 8 goes into 15 one time, so our whole number is 1, we have a remainder of 7 because 15 minus 8 is 7. The remainder becomes the numerator and we just keep the original denominator. To convert mixed to improper, multiply the whole number by the denominator and add the numerator. So, 2 times 3 plus 1 equals 7, copy the denominator, giving 7/3. To convert improper to mixed, divide the numerator by the denominator. 4 goes into 11 twice, so 2 will be the whole number, which is 4 times 2 is 8, we have a remainder of 3 from 11 minus 8, which will be the numerator. Then copy the denominator, we will have an answer of 2 3/4. A decimal is another way to show fractions, but it uses a decimal point. For example, 0.5 means half, just like 1/2. In the decimal 3.45, 3 is the whole number, 4 is tenths, and 5 is hundredths. The value of each place gets 10 times smaller as you move right. When reading decimals, read the number as usual, then say the place value of the last digit. In the examples, 0.5 is read as 5/10. 0.25 is read as 25 hundredths. 0.125 is read as 125 thousandths. To change fractions to decimals, divide the numerator by the denominator. To convert the fraction 1/2 into a decimal, we remember that the line between the 1 and the 2 means divided by. We need to divide the numerator, which is 1, by the denominator, which is 2. Add a decimal point and 0. Since 1 is smaller than 2, 2 cannot go into 1 as a whole number. We place a decimal point after the 1 and add a 0, making it 1.0. We also place a decimal point in the answer space, right above the 1's decimal point. Perform the division. Now we ask, how many times does 2 go into 10? The answer is 5. Write the result. We write the number 5 in the answer space after the decimal point. Finish the calculation. 2 times 5 is exactly 10. When we subtract 10 from 10, we get a remainder of 0, so the division is complete. There's a quick and easy way to convert fractions to decimals when the bottom number, or the denominator, is 10, 100, 1000, or 10,000, and so on. First, let's identify the parts of our fraction. For the example 1/10, the numerator, the top number is 1, and the denominator, the bottom number is 10. Next, we write down just the numerator, which is 1. Now, imagine there's a secret decimal point at the very end of this whole number. So it's like we have 1.0. Now, we look at the denominator, 10. How many zeros does the number 10 have? It has 1 0. Here's the trick. We are going to move that imaginary decimal point in our numerator to the left, the same number of places as there are zeros in the denominator. Since 10 has 1 0, we move the decimal point 1 place to the left. The 1.0 becomes 0.1. To convert decimals to fractions, say them in words. Changing a decimal to a fraction is quite simple once you understand what the decimal places represent. Here we have the decimal, 0.3. The first key step is to identify the place value of the last digit. The digit 3 is in the tenths place. This tells us that the value of the decimal is 3/10. The name of the place value actually tells you the denominator of the fraction. So, to write 0.3 as a fraction, the 3 becomes your numerator, the top number. The tenths place value tells you that 10 is your denominator, the bottom number. This gives us the fraction 3/10, or 3/10. So, 0.3 is the same as 3/10. Another example, 0.25 means 25 hundredths, or 25 over 100, which simplifies to 1/4. To compare the decimals, we line up the decimals by the point. Compare digits from left to right, tenths, hundredths, and so on. Because tenths place has the highest value, left to right implies highest to lowest value. In the first example, 0.45 is less than 0.5 because in the tenths place, 5 is greater than 4. In the second example, 0.6 is greater than 0.57 because in the tenths place, 6 is greater than 5. In ordering set of decimals, the same in comparing, we order them into their place value. Use the same number of digits by adding zeros if needed, then compare them easily. In the example, 0.1 has the smallest value between 0.2 and 0.45 because of the value of the tenths place. In order to compare 0.1 and 0.11 properly, we add a 0 beside 0.1 as needed so it becomes 0.10 and 0.11. From here we know that 0.11 is greater than 0.10 due to its hundredths value. Making the order from least to greatest of 0.1, 0.11, 0.2, and 0.45. We use decimals in money, measurements, and distances. 12.75 pesos means 12 pesos and 75 centavos. Decimals help us show exact amounts. Data is information we gather from surveys, observations, or experiments. It helps us make sense of things, like knowing the class's favorite fruit. Once we collect data, we organize it in tables or charts to make it easier to read and understand. A pictograph uses pictures to show data. The key tells you what each symbol stands for. To read a pictograph, look at the key first. If each picture means 2 students, then 4 apples mean 8 students like apples. A bar graph uses bars to compare things. The longer or taller the bar, the bigger the value. A line graph shows how something changes over time, like temperature or sales. Each point shows one moment, and the line shows the pattern. A line graph is composed of x-axis and y-axis. Y-axis is the vertical component and x-axis is the horizontal component. Y-axis is the dependent variable and x-axis is the independent variable. An independent variable is the factor in a data that is manipulated or changed by the researcher or the surveyor to see its effect on the dependent variable. It is called independent because it is not affected by other variables in the study. Instead, it is the presumed cause that can influence the effect, the dependent variable. A table arranges data in rows and columns, making it easy to compare and find patterns. When reading graphs, always check the title, labels, and scales. This tells you what the graph is about, what each side means, and how the numbers grow. Today we learned that fractions and decimals help us describe parts of a whole, and data interpretation helps us understand information better. These skills help us in cooking, shopping, reading charts, and many more real-life situations. Keep practicing and exploring, because math is everywhere.